All right, we're going to take another look at quadratics. This time we're going to be graphing them, and we're going to kind of explore how to figure out what our quadratic is going to look at without just shoving it in a graphing calculator. So there's three forms that we're going to look at. One of them is standard form, which is what we've been used to, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, just like when we were doing quadratic formula. There's also root form, which is basically the factored form. So if we factor everything out, then our roots become really obvious, our x-intercepts. And then we've got vertex form. This is basically, they've completed the square up here, but h and k give us access to the vertex, okay? H and k are the coordinates for our vertex. So we can get all of the information from all of these, but we do it kind of in different ways. So this is standard form. So let's see if we can pull some information from this equation right here. Now the first really easy piece of information from standard form is our y-intercept. We know we can find the y-intercept really easy because that's 0, comma, whatever. So x is 0. So that makes this 0. That makes that 0. So what's left? Well, it's this 15. Okay, your y-intercept is always going to be the c in your standard form. All right. So we've got the y-intercept. Now let's find the axis of symmetry. Now, the axis of symmetry, on a parabola, you've got this axis in the middle that says, okay, everything on this side and everything on this side are going to be identical. You've got this symmetry over this line. Now, the axis of symmetry is a vertical line, so it's x equals, but we've got to figure out what x this is going to be. Well, it turns out it's going to be negative b over 2a. Well, does that look familiar? Turns out this is from the quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus. Now, I've split it up so you can see this a little better. You'll see we've got this value, and then we're adding to it, and we're subtracting from it. And we're adding and subtracting that same amount. So here's the middle. I'm adding, I'm subtracting. So the middle of those two roots is where my axis of symmetry is. So that's where that comes from. So whenever you're trying to think of the axis of symmetry, it's a little mini quadratic formula, okay? Negative b over 2a. Another thing we'd like to find is our vertex, okay? To find our vertex, we know it's going to be on this axis of symmetry, which means the x is going to be negative b over 2a. And we know that the y is going to be what we get when we put negative b over 2a in our equation. So I forgot to actually solve for it right here. So negative b, that's negative 8, over 2a, so 2 times 1. So our axis of symmetry here is x equals negative 4. So our vertex is going to be negative 4. And then whatever we get when we plug in negative 4 to our formula here. So negative 4 squared, that's 16 plus 8 times negative 4. Okay, that's negative 32 plus 15. So that's 31 minus 32. So that's negative 1. So our vertex is negative 4, negative 1. All right. The last thing that we're going to want to find is our roots, okay, our x-intercepts. They may refer to them either way. So we can find that either by quadratic formula or factoring. In this case, it looks like this can be factored. X plus 5, x plus 3. Now remember, there's negative signs here, so we have to flip these to get our intercepts. So we wind up with negative 5, 0, negative 3, 0. Okay, so those wind up being our two roots, our x-intercepts. Okay, so that's pretty much all the information we need here. Your homework will also ask you to find some other points. Whenever you're graphing something, if you want to know how to graph it, just start plugging things in for x to see what you get. We know what we get if we plug in 0. If we plug in 1, okay, 1 squared plus 8 times 1 plus 5. Okay, so that winds up being 1 squared plus 8 times 1 plus 15, 1 plus 8 plus 15. Oops. So 16 plus 8, that's 22. So 122 would be a point. Okay, so it's not magic to come up with these points. You just pick an x, plug it in, see what we get. All right, there we go.